Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Moving Right Along, a Muppet movie podcast brought to you by toughpigs.com. Normally, it's the podcast where we watch the Muppet Christmas Carol 2 minutes at a time and talk about it a lot. I'm your host, Anthony Strand.
And I'm your other host, Ryan Rowe.
And today, we are not talking about 2 minutes of the Muppet Christmas Carol. We are talking about the entire movie because we are joined by a very special guest indeed. Guest, would you please introduce yourself?
My name is Paul, and I'm an American song. I'm so used to saying my name is Paul, and I'm an alcoholic, so I should probably just do that. My name is Paul. I'm an alcoholic. I'm an American songwriter, and I have felt in my DNA. So I'm a regular associate, happily, of the Muppets.
All right. So to be clear, our guest is Paul Williams.
Yes, it's that Paul.
It's that Paul. We are so thrilled to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say one of the most special guests we've had so far.
You know, I had a really good time the last time I was here, and I've always been aware of, just from the beginning of referring to yourself as Tough Pigs, there was something very hip and very Muppet-esque about it. So always a pleasure. And you guys have been amazing advocates for the Henson family of young and old geniuses, that amazing collection of Muppet performers.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being here. So the first thing, as we get into it, I want to talk about before you worked on Muppet Christmas Carol. You obviously wrote the songs for Emma Daughter's Jug Band Christmas, the Muppet movie, but you hadn't worked with the Muppets throughout the 80s. So do you remember that when Brian Henson called you to work on Muppet Christmas Carol, do you remember that first conversation and how that went?
I do. And the fact is, I really have to address the fact that where I was in my life and how fortuitous it was that I was exactly where I was in my life when I got the call. I had my, first, as I made that identification at the beginning. My name is Paul, and I'm an alcoholic, because it really does apply to any conversation about the Muppet Christmas Carol. In 1989, I had my last drink. I woke up instead of coming to, and the career that I thought I had probably been gone for 10 years. I'd had an amazing career in the 70s. The 80s, I misplaced. You're an alcoholic when you misplace a decade. And basically, the 80s were gone for me, But happily, my life, I turned my life around and was greeted warmly by a recovering community. So here I am, all of a sudden, and embracing it. I just, for the first time in my life, my connection had always been kind of through the music, my connection with the world around me. But there was a certain heart-to-heart connection that I don't think I had established really as fully as I did when I got sober, and I was embraced by the recovering community. I was finally honest enough to say, I don't know what I'm doing and I need help, and people came out of the woodwork. So here I am in the midst of this, suddenly feeling connected and loving the world around me. And I'm in the midst of a spiritual awakening when I am asked to write the songs for a movie about a man who has been lost in his greed, his addiction, who is suddenly experiencing something that is turning his life around, and he emerges having had a spiritual awakening. You couldn't have picked a better subject at the more perfect time for me to be writing. And it's one of those things where you kind of look around and you go, wow, somebody's whispering to us. It was perfect timing.
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Had you read the book before you started working on the songs?
I'd read it many, many years before, and I read it again when I heard from Brian.
Sure.
Got the offer. And you have, to Brian's credit, God bless him, he was courageous. He thought that it was the right thing for me to do, and to do alone. I had written Emma Daughter's Jug Band Christmas. I'd written the songs alone. I brought Kenny Asher in when I was asked to do the Muppet movie because I wanted those gorgeous melodies, and I have to tell you that when I looked at the script of the Muppet Christmas Carol, it just I felt the connection immediately. I felt that the sense of the timing and why it was really important for me to do it and to do it on my own.
Hmm.
For for some time the phone had not been ringing. I quit drinking and the world did not go, oh, thank God he's back. Let's call him immediately and make sure that he gets all the jobs. Did not happen. I was probably more happier and more secure about just life in general than any other time of my life. All of a sudden, I could wake up and there were no cravings for the drugs that I'd been using for decades. And it was just it was something where the phone rang, and it was the perfect thing to do. And I will never forget the process, because it was this parallel to what I was going through in my own life, and even the way that I wrote. I think I talked to you guys once about how I wrote Scrooge, and just basically wasn't even thinking about it. I had read the Dickens book. I'd read the script, and I went and sat down in a park with a little recorder, and I knew I was supposed to write this song where we see Scrooge's feet and he's walking along, and it was just it just poured out of me. I started reading a Lawrence Block novel, and it basically said, Big Amigo or Muse or whatever we call you guys up there, when you have a great idea, let me know. It starts with Scrooge's feet coming out of the door, going by these little creatures, and when it goes by, they seem to get colder. Let me know when you've got an idea. And I started reading this novel, and I put it down after about 3 pages, and I just poured out of me that when a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone. I mean, and I literally thought, okay, here's his feet, he's walking, but a bump, 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 bump.
Huh.
When a cold wind blows, it chills you to the bone. But there's nothing in nature that freezes your heart like years of being alone. And I went, wow, that's you guys are really good.
It was just right there. Wow.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing.
It just poured out of me, and it's the easiest I've ever written in my life. And I recognized along the way that our best writing, I think, is done with our unconscious. I mean, if we look at what we need to write, we can struggle over it every inch of the way, or it's like trying to remember a name. For the people that are listening that are not writers, that think they don't have a creative bone in their body, I will remind them of that interesting thing that happens when you're trying to remember an old friend's name and you can't, or the name of a favorite song or a movie and you can't, and you go, you forget about it, and about either a day later or like 4 hours later, or in the middle of the night, you sit up in bed and say, Susan Hayward, and
it just comes to you. Yeah.
Yeah. So while you have ignored this name you could not remember, your unconscious has been diligently going through all these spilled index cards in your brain, going, where the hell did he put it? Where did he put it? And that's kind of what the creative process has become for me in the last 32 years. It's much easier. I get out of the way. I surrender to the task rather than trying to drive my way through it.
Wow. So a minute ago, you mentioned that it was important for you that you were writing this one on your own, and you had written the Muppet movie songs with Kenny Asher. How is your process different when you're writing on your own versus with a partner?
Well, first of all, Kenny is a brilliant trained. He has a doctorate in music and everything. And I will go to my music director, Chris Caswell's house, and say, God, I mean, it's just, and I don't even bother trying to find the chords anymore. I will go in and I'll start singing it to him, and he'll start playing chords, and I'll go, no, that's wrong. That's whatever. That's and he's gotten to the point where he really knows me. Sometimes I will done a little bit of work on figuring out which chords, but I hear it fully I hear it done in my head.
Wow.
And what will happen with Kaz is, and it's embarrassing because I'll go, there's a chord. And it's like the lost chord. I mean, I can hear it in my head. I know it exactly this place. When love is gone, da dee da da, da dee da ba da, when love is sweetest love that we have ever known. what the hell is that? And he just looks at the piano and goes, boom, and he hits the chord. And I go, oh my God, that's amazing. That's it. What is it? And he'll go, a D. I'm like, what? No, it's not. It's got to be something really bizarre, and it's got to be an add 9 sus something. And he goes, no, it's a D. And he said, you're so wrapped up in trying to, it's like, so I am just, I have so little training. So between what's going on between my ears and that's made the trip from my heart to up to my head, and now I'm trying to explain it to somebody. Thank God for really good, great musicians like Kaz, who goes and plays it.
You mentioned the script also a minute ago. When you got the script, did it have basically like notes or cues for where all the songs would go, or descriptions of what the songs should be?
Oh yeah, there was. I think it was really very far advanced as opposed to the Muppet movie. I think the Muppet movie was Jerry Jewell came in with a script, but I think even before that there'd been conversations about this is this is going to be like a road picture, sort of like Hope and Crosby off on the road. It's Muppets off on the road to Hollywood and how they get together, and what if we did this and what if we did that. But of course, with Jerry's genius, he just he was just the perfect voice for as far as guiding a story, through the whole through the film and all. Again and again and again, he did it. This was I think that somewhere along the line, I think Disney actually asked for a song about Scrooge at the beginning.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember if that was. I think it came later. I'm remembering, and I have been known to remember wrong. It's
sure. It happens to everyone.
As the years roll by, I'll go, yeah, it was like, didn't Disney come in and ask for Scrooge? Somebody will appear and go, no, it was always there. You just, it was the third one you wrote for some reason instead of the first. But I think that Scrooge was one of the last songs that was added, except. I think that was it was pretty much everything was laid out, as far as where the songs went.
Okay.
And,
so did you sit down with Jerry Jewell on either of the movies? Did you and Jerry like sit down and talk about the songs at all, or?
Not a lot. It's funny because the subject matter of the songs, that the placement for the songs is there. But not so much the subject matter. I mean, it feels like Christmas, or One More Sleep to Christmas is just, it came out of something with my kids. If my kids would count how many sleeps it was to Christmas. How many sleeps till Christmas? My son Cole, and it was like, how many sleeps till Christmas, Dad? And, so it was. It's just the language of those moments is mine, but the placement and it's. I mean, there are songs in there like "Bless Us All," for Tiny Tim. That is like, I mean, that song had to be about what it's about, no matter what, and that was designated, by. By in the original manuscript and all. It's just it's such a clear part of it. But yeah, it's wonderful the way to find something that feels like it's right for the moment, that may be a little different than what maybe other people are expecting, and then to have something like Jerry Nelson singing, it feels like it's just it's to see it come alive with somebody like Jerry Nelson's voice is that's a special kind of payment. That's like, wow.
Sure.
Yeah. That's a great one. Were you ever in the studio when they were filming it, or in the recording studio when they were recording the tracks?
Well, I was in the studio for all the vocals, and that was one of the great embarrassing moments was when I walked into the studio for the first time with Michael Caine, and I said, it's really great to meet you, and finally get to work with you. And he went, are you out of your mind? we spent an entire weekend at the White Elephant in London. So you were at the house. But I went, whoops.
Whoops. Yeah.
There are a few dark corners where memories hide, in those years and all. But one of the most stunning performances to me is not only his singing "When Love Is Gone," but the way he reacts to it being sung, and the I don't think I've ever written a song for a film that I felt like I had really nailed the task. That is really job one for a songwriter and writing the songs for a musical, is that you advance the story, and you expose the inner life of the characters, and I felt like When Love Is Gone was just such an important part of telling the story of how he had become the man he was at that moment, what he had given up and why he had given it up, because of his greed, his addiction to being financially successful, his fear of poverty.
Yeah, I think that one's also probably unique in all the songs in all the Muppet movies, in that I don't think there are any others that are just sung by human actors.
Wow.
It's just Belle and Scrooge.
Yeah.
So yeah, it stands out in that way too.
Yeah. And of course, there's always a favorite. In almost anything that I do with the Muppets, there's usually a favorite moment with Gonzo. And I don't know, the Gonzo really got his. I finally delivered to Gonzo, and I wrote the story and the song, or co-wrote the story and wrote the songs for the Muppet Christmas Letters to Santa, and wrote a song called "I Wish I Could Be Santa Claus" for Gonzo. That
right.
Felt like, maybe that's what I should have delivered. Well, no, it wouldn't have fit back in the Muppet Christmas. At any rate, there are moments in all the films where you kind of go, wow, this is far, way past what I even had imagined it would be.
Mm.
And that certainly is a fair description of Scrooge's, his singing the couple songs that he sings, but especially his response to When Love Is Gone.
Yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Right, makes sense. Well, and actually, speaking of Gonzo, one of the things I wanted to ask you was there ever any talk of giving Gonzo and Rizzo a song in this? Like, was that discussed?
I don't remember. I really don't remember. I think that one of the things that's really impressive about the film is how slick, how easily, and how Gonzo and Rizzo managed to fulfill their role as narrators, contribute to the story, and don't stop being their own characters.
Yeah.
And yet do a terrific job of narrating the story. And I think that the feeling may have been that there was enough Gonzo and Rizzo in that kind of little slightly removed place, from the rest of the story. But I don't remember anybody ever, it's like, I know that Dave never came in the room and went, "How could you?"
Sure.
Us out. What's wrong with you?
Sure. Well, because you had written, I think I'm going to go back there someday is maybe my favorite song in the Muppet movie, personally. So it's not like you hadn't given Gonzo a good one, already. You certainly had. We share
the same feeling about Gonzo singing that song. It's just, and it was interesting because it's, when you think about Jim in the Muppet movie, there was a really strong presence to Brian directing, and he really, I heard somebody said that Brian hadn't wanted to direct that. I'd never heard that, because he was so efficient at it, and he was really hands-on and doing an amazing job at all. And Jim was very kind of, there was something almost ethereal at times, but, especially if he was about to say no, he would get this kind of and with Gonzo's song, there was never a song in the script for that moment when they break down in the desert. But
we actually we found an early draft of the script for the Muppet movie, and I think it I want to say it said like Ralph and Scooter sing a song in that scene, so it must have changed at some point in the process.
I don't remember that at all. It's interesting to hear.
Maybe that was a draft from before it made its way to you.
Yeah, I think I don't remember that. But it would make sense that Kenny and I would cleave to something a little more sentimental. And
right,
the fact is that Gonzo is a landlocked bird, and I think so are we. We're all landlocked birds. And it just seemed like such a natural moment for him to, and I have a home in New Mexico, and I spent a lot hunks of my childhood in New Mexico, and the desert skies are spectacular. And so you've got Gonzo looking at this massive, universe, the sky, the stars. And I thought, it's for him, it can be an incredible moment of longing to return to the sky. And that kind of a spiritual observation of, I'm going to go back there someday. I've never been there, but I know the way. I'm going to go. It's just. So we wrote the song and then played it for Jim, and it was interesting because he was like, "Oh, well, how nice, how pretty,"
Yeah.
And I think that he was. What we were hearing was, "That's the nicest no I ever got in my life." And a couple of days later, he came back and he said, "What if Gonzo buys a bunch of balloons at a fair for Camilla? And they're helium balloons, and he experiences flight. So you have something that's been on the screen that represents Gonzo's moment of suddenly awareness of flight, experiences it. So now he's out there and he's remembering that. And you'll notice in all that footage, when Gonzo was up there and balloons are being shot out, whenever, he's never afraid.
No, he loves it.
He's having a great time.
Home at last,
Yeah, that's so cool that the song was what inspired the balloon scene and not the other way around.
Yeah, that's exactly how I remember all of it. And it's just, it's just when he came back and said, "Yeah, let's try that." There it was just, and then to hear Gonzo sing it, to hear that, I've never been there, but I know the way. It's like this Willie Nelson voice that comes out of Dave, that is there, Gonzo, that is just so heartfelt, so sweet.
Yeah, it's one of the all-time great Muppet songs for sure.
It's probably my top 5 songs I've ever written in my life. And probably, I mean, it's Rainbow Connection is Jim's and Kermit's, and it's to even have had the opportunity to write that with Kenny and all. We knew we wanted to write our version of something as powerful as "When You Wish Upon a Star." When Jiminy Cricket climbs up into that, when the skylight, takes off his hat and sings "When You Wish Upon a Star," is just stunning. We wanted to write something that had that kind of impact. So, I mean, it's the way that song has lasted, and the way people have really, I mean, I think it's something of Jim that really lives on in the song.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe my favorite song, I'm almost afraid to say it, but my favorite song is really, "I'm Gonna Go Back There Someday."
Sure.
Great. Well,
now you've done it. Go ahead. Sorry.
a lot of the songs you've written for the Muppets are about like family love or friendship, brotherhood kind of thing. Do you think that that's coming from Jim's philosophy, or from you, or kind of a mix of both?
I think if you want to go to the absolute headwaters, I think it's probably in both of our in the center of both of our chests. I think that
Sure.
there was an elegance of kindness in the man that is that was framed with humor that just created an experience that was safe and funny and yet edgy and witty and could be dark and mysterious, and there was just so much there. But I think if you get to the very core, what we really feel from the Muppets is that that love, that element of heart and kindness, so
Yeah, this one is a little bit of a departure from the Muppet movie because it's an adaptation, so they're playing different characters. Do you think that changed your approach to writing the songs at all, or are you still just thinking I'm writing a song for Kermit rather than I'm writing a song for Bob Cratchit?
I wasn't writing a song for Kermit. I was writing a song for Bob Cratchit or
Right.
Scrooge, or Tiny Tim. And the script was written by Jerry Jewell. He was the voice, he first of all picking out the Muppet Christmas Carol, picking out the Christmas Carol to be a vehicle for the Muppets was a crazy good idea. And so much better than, I mean, it's I don't know if I would have made that choice, but the minute I sat down and began working on it, the minute I read the script, I went, "This is really special," And again, it's that spiritual awakening we witness, and the film is about values. The film is about what your returns are on greed and avarice and greed and what your returns are, for true caring, that moment when his thankful heart is awakened, when Scrooge's thankful heart is awakened. I mean, the biggest change in the story is Scrooge.
Yeah, he's the main character.
Cratchit basically survives and keeps it all together, for everyone around him, as he did in the Muppet movie. It's kind of the everyman, I've always thought that Kermit was probably more like Jimmy Stewart in It's a Wonderful Life than any other human actor I could ever look at. There's just that kind of, with the, there's something about the two of them and the way they kind of get lost in the moment.
Yeah.
It's not Gregory Peck, as Atticus Finch. It's George Bailey who's trying to steal. What the hell am I going to do to survive? Is part of the courageous strength and humanity of the humanity of that little frog.
Sure. Yeah. That's a great comparison. Well, and especially, I mean, George Bailey is funny too, like Kermit. I mean, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned Atticus Finch. That's not a funny character.
That's not funny at all. But again, you go back to George Bailey and thinking about Sheldon Leonard as the bartender, who is like it's almost like a Muppet-esque villain.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Get out of here, buddy. And take this guy with you. It's those kind of characters in It's a Wonderful Life that are not dissimilar from the depth and the humor and that little bit of a caricature of evil and sweet and again, it's amazing how human those moments. I mean, when in the Muppet movie, when Kermit's walking around and trying to figure out what the hell he's going to do, and and feeling that he's let everybody down, it's just, I mean, that could very much be a Frank Capra moment in a film.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's why these movies have kind of endured. I think people see them when they're kids and then they love them for their entire lives.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So another more specific, I wanted to get into a couple of the songs specifically, if that's okay with you.
Oh yeah.
I feel like in other interviews that we've read or heard, we haven't heard you talk about Marley and Marley too much. Is there how did you approach writing a song for Statler and Waldorf?
Which it's the first time
really
an original song had been written for Statler and Waldorf.
It was not written for Statler and Waldorf. It was written for Marley and Marley.
Right.
Marley and Marley, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any place in the movie where I turned more to the original manuscript. I mean, the language of the song is not, and I don't have it in front of me and all, but just the idea of avarice and greed and some of the language of that song is really right out of Dickens. I mean, it feels, I think, probably as much like Dickens' Ghost as I mean, hopefully. It's I wonder how children are with that. I wonder if they find it frightening at all or just silly.
I think from what Brian Henson has said about it, I think the idea was like they were okay with scaring children a little bit. You know, it's rated G, I guess, but just scaring kids a little bit is okay.
So I can speak only to my two own children who are 4 and 7, but they both think that part is funny. Like they just think it's Statler and Waldorf. They truly just find it hilarious that they're ghosts and shaking chains and like telling Scrooge that he's old or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
one of the things that I think is really very cool about Marley and Marley is that when you have two characters, they can address things to each other, as opposed to one trying to sing about his condition, whatever, where they can, you have, the information coming from one character to another character about who they are and the like, but you also have the humor of what one says to another. So it's a much easier song to write for two people than it is for one, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's really impressive how it does strike that balance of it's a funny song because it's being delivered by these two Muppets who we know are funny, but it also is delivering really serious information to Scrooge.
Yeah, it's like straighten up your life, guys.
Yeah. And
major trouble.
Exactly. And I wanted to mention that we've been watching the movie 2 minutes at a time for this podcast, so we really start to pick up on things that we never picked up on before. There's a little lyrical trick that you did where Marley and Marley rhyme 1-syllable words with 2-syllable words in the following line. Avarice and greed rhymes with we just ignored the needy. Hearts were painted black rhymes with put us both in shackles, and now it's time to part rhymes with wretched and the heartless. So I just wanted to say that I really, having finally noticed that, I really appreciate that little trick you did.
Thank you. I'm proud of that too, but it's no cheeses and Mises,
That's a great one too. Yeah.
Is that your favorite rhyme in the movie?
Talk about I just love the characters. I love that when I wrote the song, I'm not sure that I guess that the script really had it delineated that amongst the characters were the church ladies, the kind of the Salvation Army church ladies. Mm-hmm. Must be so no, and then and that moment which Brian did, which is just perfect after they lovingly forgive him. He must be so lonely. He must be that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I'm like a 9-year-old, when I'm watching the Muppet Christmas Carol, because I love the mice. There's the fact you have cantaloupe singing and the like fruit singing and all. It's just
well, that whole song is a great example. Like it kind of brings you into the whole Muppet world of the movie, because every animal, every fruit and vegetable, everything is singing.
They're all singing, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and what when you wake up in the morning and you're going to work, delivering songs for cantaloupe and mice. It's like, how do you worry about the day? It's just is there a right way to do it? Well, you'll know you'll know because the audience will tell you, and it's like all of a sudden it's 30 years later, and the audience has told us that they love the movie.
It worked. Yeah.
I think that, and I don't think that the songs got great reviews at the time the movie came out. I think that it might have been Variety that actually kind of slammed them, or but as I look at it, it feels like really good work, and I'm really proud of it. I'm really proud of the association. To get to write for these amazing actors, because flat out we're talking about great actors, that are stand behind the fills, that are just stunning talents, and improvisationally, as well as singing something you write for them or saying something that's been written for them. But the life that is brought to the characters by the Muppet performers is beyond just a couple lines. It is the absolute character of the creatures these gentlemen and ladies created, and it's pretty impressive to even get a chance to be around that, let alone hear your own words coming out of those wonderful little felt mouths.
Yeah. There's also the two songs that didn't actually make it into the movie, Room in Your Heart and Chairman of the Board, which are both great songs. I guess, was there just a decision that it would kind of slow down the pacing, or?
I think that it was overwritten. It's sometimes, you like write this, and how we need a song here for Chairman of the Board, whatever. And I think in the flow of it, those were decisions in the editing room I was never a part of. And
right.
The only one that and I accepted what they chose to do about When Love Is Gone, and was very disappointed, but accepted that. But what's interesting is that the audiences really didn't. I feel like one of the things that has been most satisfying for me is, a lot of it's through Tough Pigs and the various places where the Muppet fans can voice their opinion. I love that chorus of "Put it back, put it back."
And I don't know whose idea it was to restore the song for the VHS release, but that's how most people heard it, and they grew up watching that VHS tape. So now they expect that song to be there, and they're so disappointed when it's not.
And how about the fact that for years the footage was gone, but some unsung editor decided to just make a copy of the print and put it in a drawer, unmarked. This is what I've heard.
Oh, is that what happened?
And basically one day somebody opened a drawer and went, "Wow, guess what we just found?"
Wow.
So it's there now to return.
And we haven't heard anything official, but I think there's going to be, as we record this, there's going to be a 30th anniversary event at D23, if I have that right. So we're like a lot of people, we're kind of crossing our fingers that there's an announcement that they're going to announce like a 4K re-release with the song back in.
My lips are sealed.
Okay.
Well, maybe by the time this episode comes out, we'll know more, and we will link to it in the show notes if so.
I'm hoping that by the time this episode comes out, you have a wonderful announcement to make and all. But in the meantime, the way that Disney has continued to lean into the Muppets, and that it feels like there's a real life there and a real respect, and that. I mean, it's nice to see that there's that kind of energy and deep caring for not only the work ahead for the Muppets, but for the work that they've done, because the history, the catalog is pretty impressive. Jim has left us with so much to celebrate.
Yeah, and we're always optimistic about what's coming next.
Yeah, come on.
Right. Yeah. So I think it's time. Did you have any other questions, Ryan, before we get to our closing questions?
We kind of covered most of the songs, either specifically or generally. Actually, I guess did we really talk about "Bless Us All"?
Not really, but I just that it's really it's a prayer.
Yeah, it's such a sincere song.
Prayer, and I think that the lines about, let us always run, like run from anger, catch us when we fall, teach us in our dreams, and please, bless us one and all. I think that there's, I mean, I'm not going to mention the organization by name that saved my life. You can find it at the front of the phone book, but that organization, like, I think that some of the principles of our recovery, as designated and magically designed by that program, I think is in some of the lyrics of that song. I think that
sure.
There might be just a little something there that might have been written that by Paul Williams in recovery that he wouldn't have written before. And
that's interesting.
So credit where credit is due.
It's possibly the most spiritual those characters have ever been is in that song, just because it sounds like a prayer, like you say.
Yeah, it's a prayer.
Yeah.
Well, and this obviously isn't in Muppet Christmas Carol, but When the River Meets the Sea from Emmett Otter's Jugman Christmas feels very spiritual to me as well. So
played at his funeral. It's that what we haven't talked about is the amazing reaction and response to Emmett Otter's Jugman Christmas on Broadway, or rather in New York at the New Vic, and we were closed down because of COVID, basically the entire town was closed down because of COVID. People kept getting sick, but in the meantime, that sweet little story and that amazing gift from Jim Henson got the best reviews I've ever read in my life.
Oh yeah.
So we'll be back in New York with Emmett Otter. Probably not this year, just being based on availability of theaters, but next year for sure. And I'm glad you brought up When the River Meets the Sea, because I feel that would be the other example I would have given of something that feels really like Americana spiritual.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's gorgeous. I mean, what a great song.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and then I just wanted to briefly mention Thankful Heart, which is interesting because Michael Caine sings that entire song by himself, and he's not known for being a singer, but he does a very decent job in it.
Yeah. He was spectacular, I think, at every turn.
Yeah, and it's kind of like the opposite of the opening Scrooge song, which is everybody telling Scrooge how terrible he is, and this one is Scrooge telling everyone how nice he's going to be from now on. So that's a nice bookend.
Spiritual awakening.
Yeah, exactly. The only other sort of general question I was curious about, a lot of Miles Goodman's score for the film incorporates bits and pieces of your songs. Did you work directly with him on that, or did he just kind of get your songs and work from there?
Miles' pay grade is way above mine. He managed to put that together so beautifully, and also, and that was, that's one of the real treats about being a songwriter. When all of a sudden I'll write a song with Jerry Goldsmith for The Secret of Nim. I write the words, he writes the music, and then all of a sudden you're sitting in the theater, and during a scene, like 20 minutes away from where the song is, you're hearing that music that I wrote the lyrics to, and it's just all of a sudden it's a very adult moment. Kind of going,
wow. That's another one that I grew up watching as a kid, and I always loved that song at the end of The Secret of Nim.
Yeah. Oh, he was brilliant. He was a dear friend. Yeah.
So the three questions we've been asking every guest, but which will obviously your experiences will be different from most of our guests who are just fans. Do you remember the first time you saw the movie?
I saw the final cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw it in a screening. And by then I'd seen it a lot. I'd been at mixes and the like and all. So I don't remember the specific first time, but I know watching it at home with my kids was, and by the time it came out, it came out in 92,
Mm-hmm.
and was like 11. My daughter was like 9 or 8 rather. That was just an amazing experience, and it was certainly not the first time I saw it, but just about as good as it gets is sitting with your kids, watching something that is they're laughing at and they're giggling and I think they'd probably seen bits and pieces of it as I was working on it and all, but as opposed to the first time, if I jump into like life these days and all, and to jump online and read some of the things that people write about what the movie means to them, is just it's again, that's the heart payment in this whole deal. That's as good as it gets for songwriters to go, wow. And or to find some little girl, singing Rainbow Connection, like it was like tiny, like my size, and singing, but it's really sweet to see the life that the movie has today. And
it's just considered one of the all-time great holiday classics now.
I think it has a strong future. I think
it's
got there's I have grandchildren that are going to be seeing it, and they'll have kids that'll see it as well. I hope I won't be around for that, but I'll be around.
Huh. Wow. So then the next question is how often do you watch the movie? Like, do you watch it every year, or do you watch it ever?
Oh yeah. I think I probably watch it once a year, especially in the last few years. I mean, there's been a surge of appreciation and respect that you just can't ignore, and to look at it, it's like I love it. I love it when somebody says something wonderful about the songs and the like. But when I sit down and watch it, what I see is all the rest of what they're really talking about. What they're really talking about is this spectacular effort of Brian's that has put together a stunning piece of art that is an homage to the creative genius that is his family tree. Is respectful and faithful to a story that is as much a part of Christmas as anything that I think I've read, and manages to do it with humor and grace, and just it's really impressive. Like right down the line, all those Muppet performers, all the set design right down the line, Miles' work. It's really, really impressive to watch and appreciate.
Absolutely. And then the last question we've been asking all of our guests is, where would you rank it among the Muppet movies? Or maybe that's impossible for you to say. I don't know. But do you have a favorite Muppet movie?
It's they're all, that's like as far as I mean, I won't even compare it to like all the Muppet movies. I can only compare it to the ones really that in all fairness, in the ones that I was involved in, So
sure.
I think as far as delivering for a script, I think it's the best work I've done for maybe any of the pictures that I wrote more than one song for. Emmett Otter, of course, is just, and then I mean the three major things that I worked on, Emmett Otter, Muppet Movie, and Muppet Christmas Carol, are all really, really dear to me, and I'm really, really, really proud of the association with those and all. The little TV special where I worked, I got the idea for the story. My wife Mariana's in the room right now, and I turned to her in bed and said, I've got an idea for the Muppet TV special. And she said, go see Jim Foley at Disney. And I went, no, come on, no. Yeah. I did, and when it was made, and I'm really proud of that. But there's something about the Muppet Christmas Carol it feels like the largest of the three. One that has, the strongest future, because of the fact that it's earning its place in the world's Christmases, and I mean, I just, I'm sorry, I almost can't really answer that.
No, that's okay.
Sure. No, of course, understandable. Yeah,
I think
it's hard for us to rank all the Muppet movies too, because we love them all. So
yeah. But I think that as far as looking at the whole thing, that has to be my favorite, except for Emma, except for the Muppet,
Sure. Well, that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you,
Paul.
It's my pleasure, and there was no way that I was going to miss this opportunity. You guys have been fabulous, and have a great Christmas, and maybe we'll talk after D23.
All right.
All right, sounds good.
Stay well. Thanks for your advocacy and your kindness.
Thanks for your generosity with your time. We really appreciate it.
You got it. Talk to you soon, I hope.
Yes.
All right. And listeners, we will be back next week with a regular episode of Moving Right Along. But until then, you can always find Tough Pigs on the internet at toughpigs.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all over the place. You can support us on Patreon if you feel so moved to do. You can follow Ryan personally on Twitter at @MeRyanRowe. You can follow Paul Williams on Twitter at I.M. Paul Williams, the letter I, the letter M, Paul Williams. He's on Instagram.
If you only choose one of us, you should definitely follow him instead of me.
Right. He's on Instagram too at PauliLama2, PAULIELAMA2. You can follow Ryan on Letterboxd at Movies Are Neat, and me on Letterboxd at Zeppo Marxist. And you'll find us right back here next week with a regular episode of Moving Right Along. Thanks again to our guest, Paul Williams. Good night.
Good night.